And so, we've got 2 cameras going, but you just talk to Mona. And like
Okay.
she said, conversation and stop and start, no big deal, because it will be edited.
Okay.
And, we will ask you to say your name now on
Okay.
camera.
My name is Jack Creely.
And Jack, how old are you?
86
86?
only.
Only 86.
Mhm.
And have you lived in Fulton all of your life?
No, ma'am, that starts me off with, I was a student at ICC, or IJC at that time, and I came to Fulton on Sunday afternoon. I was born and raised in Tupelo. I came to Fulton on Sunday afternoon and was walking up the sidewalk from ICC coming into town, and two ladies and a gentleman stopped and picked me up, and one of them was my wife, my future wife,
Future wife.
and I've been in Fulton ever since.
That's a sweet
And that was
story.
in 1950.
So literally, Will McComber just picked you up off the street.
Will McComber picked me up off the street.
Well, it was a good choice she made, I think.
Well,
Good
thank you,
decision.
thank you.
So you came to Fulton as a student then?
Yes.
At Itawamba Junior College.
Right.
And when did you and Wilma marry?
In June of 1950, July of 1950. I've almost forgotten.
And did you move to live in Fulton at that time?
No, ma'am. We lived in Tupelo for a short period of time, and then we moved to Fulton.
Okay. And can you describe Fulton for us at that time, whenever you moved here, or when you were in school here? What were some of the physical characteristics, the buildings, the people that were here? What are your memories?
I'd say 75% of the businesses that were here then are still here.
Was it a busy place?
Not at all. Not busy at all. And I decided to start an insurance business. And somehow or another I got wound up in a mayor's race and was elected. And one of the things I didn't anticipate is the requirements of the mayor's office. And I made up my mind that I was going to do a good job. And I gave it my all.
What year were you elected?
1981.
And how many terms did you serve?
From 81 to 85, and 85 to 89, and 93 to 97. I had a split, sir. Now, one of the things that I recognized early on that you had to have help. So I tried to get along with everyone on an amicable basis, where that if I called on them, they'd feel free to assist me in any way. And one of the things I learned early on was the fact that you've got to have somebody with influence in Washington. And we were fortunate to have such a person, and had a direct connection with Representative Jamie Whitten, and we were able to accomplish a number of things that we ordinarily would not have.
So you were mayor when the waterway was
Yes, ma'am,
being
and
built, the Tennessee Tom Bigby waterway.
right, and I was assured that the old Highway 78 would not be cut, and where they couldn't be traveled, and at least give me 24 hours notice. Well, I happened to be at the drugstore talking to Frank Turner, one of my aldermen, and was telling him that we would know when it was cut and have plenty of notice and whatever. And this guy came walking to the store and said, guess what I just saw? I saw him cutting cutting Highway 78. And so that shared my knowledge. But among other things that we were able to accomplish was we were able to get the Whitten Center.
And what is the Whitten Center?
It's a recreational type facility and paid for with federal funds, and has been in operation for a number of years, still up and going. And then we were able to get the only welcome center not on an interstate highway in the state of Mississippi. That's out at Tremont. We were able to accomplish that.
That's part of your administration?
Yes, yes. And my connection with the representative.
So would you consider that Welcome Center and then the Whitten Center as highlights maybe of your?
Well, that's one of the permanent things that everyone sees. And there's a number of things I think. Another thing I think we were able to accomplish is we weren't well equipped. In fact, I saw more city equipment coming up here this morning than we owned at that time. And as time progressed, we were able to start a program that's been developed since then. And I'd say that we were as well equipped as any city in the state at this point.
So that was a need that you saw
Right,
when you took
right
office.
off. Mm-hmm.
Were there any other needs or any challenges that you had while you were mayor? Or challenges that, that the town of Fulton maybe was facing?
Well, one of the things that I guess you could call it a highlight because it stands out to me is the fact that at the time I was elected, the mayor was a city judge. And that's a pretty taxing deal if you do it as it should be done.
So that occupied a good bit of your
Right.
time.
Good bit of the time. And another highlight of my service, I guess you'd say, or my career, was leadership at Itawamba. We were able to work with Rubadell and set up leadership at Itawamba, and I was in the first class.
And what kind of program was that?
That was acclimating people to how economic development works and the needs of the community, and working with the board of supervisors and my city board, we were able to accomplish some of the things that goals that were set by the various members of the organization.
So the leadership at Itawamba had new teams of volunteers every year? Is that how it works?
Yes, but it was discontinued about 5-6 years ago, and we are attempting at this point to activate it, and we've had several meetings involved in that.
Who do you see, or who do you recall as being leaders of the community in the 1960s and 70s and then into the 80s when you served?
I'd say that Sharon Aycock was probably, as she is now,
Yes.
A leader in community community involvement and community needs. And she'll do whatever's necessary. And
What about in the 1960s, when you moved here? Do you remember who some of the town leaders were then?
honestly, I don't.
What about Delmas Hardin? What kind of role did he play?
Delmas was a promoter of anything that was good for Fulton or Itawamba County. Incidentally, Danny Holly was president of the Board of Supervisors at the time I was mayor, and he told recently at a meeting that I taught him one thing, that Fulton was in Itawamba County. So we've had a good relationship down through the years. And I think that it's important that city officials and county officials be in sync, I guess you'd say.
It's very important.
Very much so. Now, when I was talking about a while ago about connections with someone with that had connections, we made a trip to the Carolinas at one time to see a community being developed, and we tried to adapt some of their strategies, and they had absolute control over building and the businesses in the city. And I think we adopted some of that that we fit.
Yeah, please go ahead and refer to your notes and.
Okay. Well, one of the first things I discovered is that our tax base was very limited. Now, as you probably know, the city limits ended before you got to Howard Smith's furniture store
I did not know that.
at the intersection of Clifton Street and, at that time, Highway 25. And when we expanded city limits, we gained probably 50 to 60% more people than we had.
Do you remember what year that would have been?
No,
Was
ma'am.
it in your first?
Now, when you question my memory, you if it's not on my notes, we can't handle it. But I'm sure you all know David Rumbarger. Myself and two more people went to met with him in Hattiesburg about 2 years before we came to Tupelo. And they had a very successful operation down there. And we had him come to Fulton and speak to our development council, which I think motivated some folks to maybe not be discouraged and keep on keeping on, in other words.
Was there a lot of growth during your years as mayor
Uh,
out toward Highway 78?
Not that I recall. Of course, as I told you before, my memory is not all that. Now, we had some situations that were helpful to us, and not the least of which we computerized City Hall, and had a good bit of obstacles on that, but we overcame them and set everything up, and it's being used today. Now, one of the things that the city attempted, now not only me, our city board, we worked with the county toward getting the access road, and not an inch of it's in the city, or wasn't at that time. But we, as I said, we worked together, and that helped us to get things going along that line. And we had a supervisor in the county that anything Fulton was for, he is against. So his nephew had a problem, and he came to me and said, if you'll take care of that, I'll take care of you. Now, Sharon Aycock was the attorney for the board, for the county board. And everything that had ever come up, he had voted against Fulton. So the first meeting, they had a situation where something would be located either in Manatee or Fulton, and he made a motion to locate it in Fulton. And Sharon almost blew up. She couldn't understand that. But anyway, we tried to work with people, and as long as we weren't in violation of the law, we tried to work with various people in various organizations. And one of the things that we were able to assist the postal department in house numbering, number on houses. We installed the numbers if they'd furnish them. So that illustrates to me a cooperative effort, easier to work with than it is to work against, and it turns out better. Now, one of the things that we were able to accomplish is on the north end of the North Road, where it went under the Natchez Trace, we were able to get a ramp where the traffic can get on and off the trace up the North Road. And we had a lot of controversy on that from state level.
So you were mayor during that time and worked with the county officials to get something done that would be beneficial
To everybody.
outside the city limits, well
Right,
outside the
right.
city limits.
Well, I always considered myself a citizen of Itawamba County also. And we worked with Mississippi State Architectural Department, where now is Playland Park. They wanted to develop a park there. And it was hard for us to see because most of us have single vision when it comes to something we're not familiar with. And they promoted it real much. And then when Julie Grimes and her husband started their building here in Fulton, they were willing to donate the money to build a park. And they built a more elaborate park than we had planned, which was a big asset to us.
Let's pause for just a second. I think our sound is, let me see about this sound. Yeah. He's working on the wall back here, and it wasn't. Okay, we're rolling.
Okay. One thing I attempted to do was to listen. And I was used to talking, and it was a pretty good chore to listen. But I learned a lot and became more acceptable as an interested party by listening. Of course, my wife don't believe that, but she don't believe I'd listen. But we had several problems to develop while I was mayor, and not the least of which is all of our policemen quit.
That would be a problem.
All but one, and he was a radio operator. So we had a little problem there. But
How did you solve that problem?
well, I was called to meet with the chief at City Hall, and when I got there, every one of them was there. Everybody was employed by the police department. And I was advised that me or them one were leaving. They didn't like me. And so my statement to that was, I was elected for a 4-year term, and I planned on being here. So they all quit except one. He was a radio operator. But anyway, to make a long story short on that, to show that I can forgive, the next election, he and his wife had bought a place in Pickwick, and he came to see me and said, we kept enough clothes and enough bed clothes where we could spend the night. We were supposed to move on Monday before the election, where we could spend the night and vote for you. And, you know, I sort of questioned that. But when I went in City Hall where the election was progressing, he held up his ballot and showed me that he had voted for me. So I guess you can get forgiven, you know. But we had a pretty hard time working out of that. But since then, as far as I know, everything's been fine. So one experience, I guess, can teach a lot of folks. So, and then had a lot of opposition about going computers, and we were able to work through that, and now we have as good a computer system as you'll find. And now we did find out one thing in a very short order, that if you don't pay much, you're not going to get much. So we were able to up our pay scale a reasonable amount, and you get better quality employees.
Well, let me ask you this: did you have any problems with bootleggers during your terms as mayor, or had the bootlegging pretty much gone away?
As far as I can tell or could tell, I would say that they were outside the city if we had any. I'm not aware of any that's in the city. And since I don't drink,
were there any petitions or drives to legalize alcohol in Fulton?
only one that I know of, and it flopped. One of the things that we take pride in is when we had the ice storm, Tishomingo, city of Tishomingo, or town of Tishomingo, had a horrible ice storm. And we sent our city and street employees and to help them clean up and get the streets open where they could travel. And we take pride in that. And we have a letter to that effect that they appreciate it. Now, one of the things I noticed in looking back through the records is Julie Grimes. I have 3 or 4 letters to her congratulating her on her accomplishments. And Mary Jo Gosa was my secretary at that time. And she told the other day that she got tired of writing Julie's letters. But I think employees are the key to any organization. And we had a fine group of people.
The population, how has the population of Fulton grown? You mentioned that there was a annexation of
I believe
city
in
limits.
the annexation we gained probably 1,500 people. And as far as I know, that at that point in time, that was the figure.
Do you remember the population when you took office?
No, I do not. I told you at the beginning how old I was, so it's hard to remember.
What about the businesses that you ran before you were mayor?
I had a good helper,
And who was that helper?
my wife.
Your wife. She was your number one assistant.
Right.
What kind of businesses did you have?
Insurance. Now, I suppose that she was the key to my business before I was mayor, while I was mayor, and after I was mayor. So she fulfilled, and we have a fine group of family, as you're well aware, and she took care of them and took care of me.
And where did you live when you moved when you moved to Fulton, when you and Wilma moved to Fulton in your early years?
We lived on South Cummings, and then when the Sheffield estate was settled, we bought the first lot in our subdivision on either side of the road. And when the sun went down, it got dark because we had gravel streets and no street lights. And
It's like being in the country.
I was in the country, right at home.
And you've been there in that home ever since.
About 52 or 3 years. I believe I'm a resident.
And where have you attended church?
At Fulton Methodist Church. Incidentally, both my wife and I have had an illness since about Christmas time, and we've missed church more since Christmas than I have in my entire life, altogether.
When you started attending church, where was it located?
It was located on the corner of Clifton Street and Main Street.
So that would be the
Catholic Church now.
where the Catholic Church is now. And do you remember or can tell us anything about the years leading up to the move to the current location?
Well,
The use of the church, the older church?
First of all, we were crowded. We had a full house practically every service, and needed to expand our Sunday school or educational part, and so voted to build a new church. And it started out with just a building, one building, and now we have 3.
Was
So-
it hard raising the money to do that?
Not really.
Who were
Oh.
some of the leaders that pushed that and made it happen that you remember?
Well, the Cranes and the Holmans and Basil Ernest and just any number of Tom Childs. Tom was a big promoter of it.
So are there any other stories or memories you'd like to share with us today?
Well, since you're recording it and filming it, I think not.
I thought you were going to tell me something. Something good. Something juicy.
Oh, I have one that I can tell you. A fella came in my insurance office one day and said, I came to take over the police department. This was 10 years after we had problems with it. So I had never seen him before. His name was Bending. So he told me all his qualifications and why that he is going to have it. He didn't say I'm going to ask for it, I'm going to have it. So I told the city board about what he did and what he said and what he claimed to be and all that. So Jimmy Crane, one of my aldermen, said, you know he can't be that bad. So I said to myself, I'll show you. So I had him to come to the next meeting. And when he was about halfway through his presentation, Jimmy said, I believe we have enough information to work on. So I think I'd be safe in saying that my first term was probably the most unified the city of Fulton's ever been. And I take pride in that.
I think we've got everything.
Okay.
I think we've got anything, unless there's anything else you want to add. I think that was very good. Excellent.
Thank you.